And it's also interesting because people all the time will be like, well, I'm not depressed. I'm not anxious. Like, what do I need therapy for? And it's like, listen, there might have been an event that caused me to go to therapy, but what I've learned in it has helped me in so many different areas of my life. Like
Me,
literally
100%.
in every other area of my life. Where has it impacted you?
I've said this on one podcast because no one has ever asked me this, but I'm gonna keep it a buck. I went to therapy for my sex life,
Okay.
but I tell everyone it was to be more fulfilled or whatever. Bullshit. But I left with so much more skills, knowledge of myself, my family, like what, like everything. But I originally went for my sex life. Like, I mean, here's an example. Like, I went from lasting like a TikTok. Now I'm doing YouTube clips. You know what I mean?
It's
Dead
like
ass.
comparison for me.
Like I used to be, and like what I'm not ashamed to admit it. Like I used to be a fucking TikTok clip. You know what I mean? Now I'm a whole podcast. Well, sometimes podcast episode, but like, but
Oh my God.
no,
Oh my God.
that's gonna be a clip. That's gonna go viral. No,
Oh
but
God.
facts. Like, yo, even the idea, like, I wouldn't even have to have sex to be like, to be fucking done. I'm not even joking.
I'm dead.
I'm not even joking. I wouldn't even be naked yet, and I'm like, ugh, crazy. Yeah. So I went for that. And like I'm a new man, but I left with so much shit. I left with so many more benefits outside of just being better at sex.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what made you seek therapy in particular for that?
Yo, because
Like,
I was like,
did you find someone like a sex therapist?
nah. I just found a therapy. Well, I tried to think about like I can't believe my mom's gonna listen to this episode. Um, no, I was just like, I'm feeling anxious, like looking up certain things, like self-diagnosis a little bit, and I was like, I'm feeling anxious during these times. Like, what does anxiety mean? Is it that? I was like, I'm thinking 10 steps ahead while I'm in the action of it. Like, I couldn't focus on being present in anything in life, right? But sex happened to be one of those things where I couldn't focus on like enjoying the physical touch, the making, not whatever it is, just the movement and the interaction. I was literally thinking like, all right, when we finish making out in whatever minutes, like I'm gonna do this. Ooh, but she's probably gonna like I'm literally thinking, I'm like writing a script in my head around like what's gonna happen. And I just found somebody that was good at anxiety. Like they weren't specialized in like relationships or sex or anything. It was just anxiety, but in relation to sex is what I started in, and then I tried to tackle anxiety in other parts of my life.
Do you remember like how that transition occurred?
What do you mean, like going to therapy?
From the conversation being like, I'm here because of my sex life, to how do I deal with anxiety? How did this impact other parts of my life?
Well, let's just say when I started getting better, we started expanding. That's it.
And then what made you decide that you wanted to stay? What made you stick with therapy even as your sex performance got better? Like, why
Oh
did
yeah.
you not? Why did you not like stop after you're like, oh, I'm no longer a TikTok man?
Oh my god, I gotta insert the Missy Elliott song.
Missy Elliott,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I saw, and not to say we don't all have TikTok moments. Still have that. Like everybody has that. It's just natural. But yo, your brain has so much power on your whole fucking body. And I saw like one article, and the article was talking about that. I was like, your brain ain't that powerful. Like maybe it'll help you change your fucking mood, but it ain't gonna help your sex game. You feel me? I was like, whatever. Let me try this. I'm like, yo, shit worked. What else can this therapist help me with? Like get control of my brain and change my mindset, all that kind of shit. So that's how I was like, yo, the brain is powerful. Let me continue to expand into other areas.
Got it.
Yeah. So she just started challenging me on a bunch of stuff around like, well, why do you think like that? Well, you thought about that the same way, and look what happened. You know what I mean?
Going back to thinking about therapy. Okay, so you started for one reason and it's helped you in other reasons or in other areas. What other areas? Like how has it benefited you.
One area in particular is being able to get the skill of how to label, qualify, and then communicate your emotions. And I think back to any relationship I've had, whether it be a friendship or romantic relationship or family member, and I just think back to so many times, even when like I was talking about our moms, like I wish I could tell her back in the day, like, Mom, I don't feel loved right now. That conversation when I asked her, like, Mom, how did you love me growing up? I wish growing up I could be like, Mom, I didn't love you, and then she could say, but I bought you all those trips to DR and all the shit, and I could be like, well, that's not how I want to be loved. Right. Imagine we can have that conversation sooner. And then she hugged me and she told me she loved me.
Yeah.
Like, is that one of the skills you think you learned too?
For me, communication, like big time.
So you always knew how to label your emotions, but communicating it was another step?
Everything you said, labeling it, but the communication part is a big one for me because I very much was a people pleaser and I would suppress my feelings in order to appease others. And it's difficult for me to say, hey, I'm sad, I'm worried, I'm tired, I'm feeling this, and I need that from you in response, or, whatever it may be. And since going to therapy, I've been able to articulate what it is that I'm feeling because there were very limited emotions that were expressed when I was growing up. And a little bit different from yours is my mom always told me that she loved me all the time. Like, and to this day, do not get off the phone with me without saying I love you because I will call you back. I'm like, I think you forgot to say something. Oh. So that was never, saying it was never the issue. But we had challenges where it was a pretty explosive household. And so anger would come up and not knowing, because you model parents' behaviors. So not knowing how to actually process anger and say what you're feeling and things of that nature. And so today I'm a lot more expressive. I'm a lot more equipped to be able to say what I think and feel. Still a work in progress, but for sure it's in all relationships, in romantic, in friendship, in work relationships as well, right? Being able to speak up for myself if I'm, feeling like I need extra support in something, working on a project and it's like, hey, I need extra help here. I'm feeling unprepared for, this, with this project or whatever that we're working on. I need extra help.
Why did you not do it? Why did you not ask for help before? Were there feelings that you were trying to avoid?
Yeah, because in my experience growing up, I had to be self-sufficient. And, my mom was a working mom and she had her own salon. So she was gone 12 hours a day, at times working like 9 to 9. And so I had to take care of myself a lot, by myself. I want to be an inconvenience or a burden. And so it was hard for me to just ask for help because I felt like I needed to be self-sufficient.
For me, it was not wanting to look needy. In particular in relationships, I would typically it was one of those, like, let me hold in my emotions until like the smallest thing happened and then I just fucking explode. Not in the sense of like in an aggressive or violent way, more so just like it just all comes out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I was like, they were like, I thought you were good. It was like, nope, been holding this shit all year.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's so much better now, right? Like when you're able to deal with things as they come up, it just makes it not a big deal anymore. And every time I have to say like, hey, actually, I'm feeling this way or that way. And even getting vocabulary around it. So you and I talk about this, but I found an app called...
We're not promoting that shit. We're not promoting that shit. We're not promoting that shit.
I found an app.
Okay.
And it...
I'll bleep it out. I'm not taking it out.
Sponsor us, okay?
Nah, we launch on our own. We're not plugging that shit.
We found an app and it gives you a lot of different words to like show what your emotions are. And so I would find myself being like, oh yeah, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm tired, blah, blah, blah. And use like the same 5 or 6 words. And then once it's like, actually, I'm feeling content or satisfied or accomplished. And now the vocabulary really just expands what it is that you're able to communicate.
You saying happy versus you saying proud, very
Mm-hmm.
different. Because like
Right.
happy why? Happy, oh, because I'm proud. Proud why? Because I did this. Oh shit, okay. Now I know
Yeah.
exactly how I feel, why I feel that way. And maybe that leads to like, well, what do I want to do about that feeling? Oh, let's celebrate, you know?
And it's like, oh, I feel valued. I feel
Hmm.
included, right?
Yeah,
So
very
like
different.
very, very different. And then,
Like like your manager, imagine you leave a meeting and you're like, how'd you feel about the meeting? It was all right. The fuck? That's not a productive conversation. What do you say after
yeah,
that?
yeah. Versus like, oh, I'm feeling discouraged or
Yes.
apathetic or
Yes.
lost.
Hmm.
I'm feeling pessimistic, right? And then like you can have more, right? I'm feeling frightened or apprehensive, embarrassed.
Hmm.
So again, getting the vocabulary around the emotions better allow you to actually process them. And when you are
Mm.
better able to process them, you can communicate. So circling all the way back to what it is that I hope that my mom gets from therapy is truly I want her to finally have the tools to be able to go inward and process the shit that she never dealt with for herself to then be able to show up for herself in a better way that is just going to strengthen all of the relationships around her, including the relationship she and I have together.
Yeah. I mean, to close, I think that is a first step for anybody looking to improve their mental health is figuring out how you actually are feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think labeling it these like generic words like happy, sad is so surface level that it doesn't necessarily uncover why you're feeling like that. Like if you get a little bit more descriptive, just a little bit more descriptive, it'll help you start digging a little bit deeper to understand why that is. And then, not that we want people to diagnose themselves, but it'll help you understand what type of help you may need. Because at the end of
Yeah.
the day, we all need help, but I think it'll help you filter or at least point you in the right direction of where you would need help. Would you agree, or like what would be your first step?
Number one, like getting over the stigma of it, and then just realizing like we all need therapy. If you're a Black or brown person in this country, you need therapy, period. If you've had a childhood, you need therapy. And there's a lot of people who are like, oh no, I go to the gym and the gym is my therapy, or I like to paint or color, or I go, whatever it is. You have I do yoga, I do boxing, I do this, I do that. And we think that it's a replacement for therapy, or we will say like, no, I have like good friends that I can talk to about this. And it's like, all good and well. And then you get in these situations and you think you're handling it fine, but like you went through a breakup a year ago and you're still crying about it.
Mm.
You just got laid off and now you're figuring out your next step. You have a kid that you're trying to raise to be a better version of you.
Or maybe
Uh,
my childhood was 30 years ago, and I'm still haven't gotten over it.
yeah.
I was literally talking about how my mom didn't hug me when I was 2, and I'm 32 now, still
Yeah.
still not over it.
Yeah. Like it, and that shit's real. And I see it so much with like my sister and my niece.
Hmm.
And, my niece is 15 now. And, that girl, I'm like, you are light years ahead of me. First of all, where I was at your age, and sometimes now I'm like, oh damn, like you are like really seeing that for yourself.
Yeah.
And part of that is because my sister's been able to guide her along, and she's actually going to be starting therapy soon, as well. So it's removing the stigma, I think, is the first step.
Yeah.
And then just understanding what is your goal for it, like what do you want to get out of it. And if it's just to know yourself better and to have better relationships with others, then I think that's a great start. But it's so
Yeah.
individual for
Yeah.
everyone.
Or last longer. You know what I mean? Do what you got to do.
All of it.
I remember this quote when I was in school. They were like trying to convince people to get tutors, and they were like, "Listen, everyone gets the same degree. Your degree isn't going to say with the help of a tutor.
Mm,
So
there
get the
you go.
help you need. Like we're all trying to better our lives and accomplish what we need to. No one's going to judge you for getting help."
Period.